bring in the United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby from COP26. Scott, great to catch up with you, sir. And what a morning for it. Inflation data in America out 45 minutes ago with a six handle at 6.2%. We haven't seen numbers like this since 1990. And on this show, Scott, we've talked about this divide for a while between what policymakers are telling us and what corporate America is experiencing. Can you lift the lid on that for us a little bit, Scott, what you're experiencing, just the cost pressure at the moment?
Yeah. So we are experiencing cost pressures in some areas of the business, but you know they're consistent with what we planned for in our business, and in particular, you know, we've actually been able to hire. We're unusual in that we've been able to hire. We create really good careers, so it's a little different situation that we're in than some others. But we're experiencing cost pressure in things like airports and the supply chain. A lot of our contracts are longer term, so they haven't manifested entirely yet, but we can certainly see that coming in our business.
Is it coming through in the labor channel a little bit more, Scott? Is that something you're seeing too?
I missed part of the question, but we're seeing supply chain. You know, supply chain and airports are probably the biggest place that we're seeing cost pressure, right? And of course, fuel prices, which is our biggest cost of all, you know, is straightforward and comes through as inflation for us right away.
Scott, it's labor specifically that I wanted to focus on with you. We've seen a couple of times over the last few months Southwest talk about cancelling flights, blaming maybe the weather. I've seen it from another airline too, and I'm trying to understand whether it is really the weather or just struggling to get the staff to have this kind of capacity. Scott, what do you see in terms of the retention for labour, getting the right amount of people on board to meet that demand?
Yeah. So at United Airlines, we did it differently than some of the others. And one of the things that we did differently is we went from all of us as airlines, you know, canceling 90% of our schedule and trying to go back to 100%, you know, right off the bat was going to lead to operational stress and challenges. And so we didn't do that at United. We were also unique in negotiating a deal with our pilots that kept them all in place. They flew fewer hours, but we kept them all in place. And so at United, we really have not had any of those issues. Thankfully, and we feel like we feel confident for the holidays. I sent a note to our customers not too long ago. We feel confident for the holidays, but a lot of that is because we managed it differently than a lot of other airlines around the world.
Scott, how is the vaccine mandate working out over at United? How's that going?
Well, we're done. You know, I'm really glad that we did it. We started it in August. We did our mandate because purely for safety. We thought it was the right thing to do. We did it quickly in less than 8 weeks. We got to 99.7% of our employees vaccinated. You know, it's actually become a point of pride for our employees, particularly as they watch, I think, some of the turmoil at other places, not just airlines, but at other companies. You know, it's actually been a cultural moment for us that we got to 99.7%, and even the people that didn't agree and still don't agree with the requirement, they at least respect, for the most part, the decision making, why we did it, and being open, honest, and transparent. And I'm just really glad we have it in the rearview mirror for us, and it's just not an issue.
I wanted to give you the chance to respond to something a federal judge in Texas said in the last week, because it's only fair, Scott. He said the following on the vaccine mandate. He said he was disturbed by United's seemingly calloused approach to its employees' deeply personal concerns with injecting a foreign substance into their bodies. Can you respond to that, Scott?
Well, I missed part of it, but I think it was about concern from employees. And look, we're an airline, and when we say safety is number one, we really mean it. It's not just, we're not just saying that. And to me, it was clear that this was a safety issue. It was about saving lives. I can remember thinking about our flights to India, where we were sending employees into India when the Delta variant first kicked up, and we needed to be doing that because we were carrying some days 100 tons of oxygen canisters and other critical equipment to deal with the Delta variant there in India. But at the same time, we couldn't be putting our employees into that situation if they weren't vaccinated. And so for us as a global airline, it was simply about safety and about a requirement. And look, historically, we've had vaccine requirements. You know, if you go to certain countries around the world, we require employees to be vaccinated. So really, this was nothing new. And I'm glad that we did it and that we've got it now in the rearview mirror.
Scott, there's this weird tension in the sky at the moment that I wonder if you can speak to. This weird tension tension between employees of airlines and the people flying with your airline. It's not just at United, it's at other airlines too. Do you think we've lost some customer service along the way here, Scott, over the last 12 months?
Well, yeah, well, this is another one that it's different at United than what I read about, at least, at other airlines. And our incidents, we don't have zero incidents, but our mask incidents, for example, are down 60% since the start of the year. And our flight attendants have really done an amazing job going through this. They deserve all the credit. And what we did was we worked with the union and them to develop de-escalation training, to not have conflict in the skies. And our flight attendants simply, if a customer is being recalcitrant about a mask, give them a card that says, last warning, last chance, if you don't put the mask on, you'll be banned from flying United. And we've had to ban 700 customers as we went through the crisis. But that has allowed us to have a much more civil environment on the airplane, avoid issues in the sky, get it on the ground, and then deal with it. And so this is another one of those that really has been different at United than at least what I read about at some other airlines.
Well, let's hope that remains the case for you, sir. Before you go, a couple more questions. One on where you are right now, but before we get there, I want to talk about demand for the transatlantic corridor, New York to London. It's great to see it open again, Scott. I'm sure you feel the same way about it. I was looking at flights recently, through the roof already. Trying to get in the business cabin for work almost impossible at the moment over the next several weeks. Scott, how robust has demand been through the holiday season into the new year?
Yeah. Well, first, make sure you fly out of Newark on United, and we'll make sure we find a seat for you. But demand is great. You know, our flights, our 33 flights coming out of Europe on Monday had almost 100% load factor on them. You know, as we opened up to Europeans, wonderful to welcome them back. Wonderful, touching stories of people getting back to the United States, seeing family for the first time in 2 years. It's great to have those borders open again. I am here in Europe now. You know, it's just so different being there in person with people. You know, it feels good, it is good, it's more productive. It's the reason, by the way, that business travel is going to come back 100% as well.
Scott, I hope you're right about that, because that's not what we're seeing at the moment for the companies that I'm speaking to. Final question for you, sir. For the immediacy of everything we've discussed, for inflation, the cost pressure, the labour market, COVID, you're at COP, and at times, Scott, this conversation feels like a high-class issue. Why is it much more significant than that?
Yeah. Well, you know, look, when you've come from where we are in aviation or at United, where our revenues were down 99%, you know, and we went through the valley of death, you know, and to come out on the other side, I like quoting Winston Churchill, when you're going through hell, keep going. We kept going, and now everything looks up, you know, while others may look at it and, you know, that gangbuster businesses during COVID, you know, for us, this has been getting through and surviving the crisis. And now we see the recovery staring us firmly in the face, where it's happening domestically. The European borders now opening up, starting to see cracks in Asia for those to open up. And so we feel actually really good about where we are. All the changes we made during the crisis, I'm so proud of the people of United. There's a lot of things on this call. We talked about how different it is at United. It really is different at United than it was before, or at least than what I read about at some other airlines. So, you know, as hard as this has been, we are coming out the other side and optimistic about the future.